Hello and welcome to the NASCAR Next Gen Competition NASCAR GT series. I am going to be your commentator, Seb Mills. I am the former two-time champion and currently one of the most successful drivers at Blue Moon. So I should be able to get you through this race happily. So this is going to be Duel 1. We are having Jono GT of JMR and Nexus. We have Matt Pulio, who I believe is driving for Bune Motorsports. We have Ghost Fired Up, driving for Aqua Regina, I believe they're called. We have Huds, who I am unsure of who he's racing for. But there's that. We have Jackson Turner back on the grid, racing for his own team, Fast Formula. And we also have Aston Lewis driving for Dalton Autosports. Hello Ricky, in the chat. I will not send you a party invite because many reasons, and also I'm not in a party. Another message. Ricky, I'll be alright. And we are racing on a grid start for the first time in many seasons, as it is Aston Lewis who will lead us away, with Huds right behind, Jackson Turner in third, Jono in fourth, Matt in fifth, and Adam in sixth. We are lights out and away we go for the very start of the season of the Duels. Aston Lewis gets a great getaway with Jackson Turner and Matt Pulio bumping each other away until the first corner, and everyone's looking all clean so far. Matt is right behind Jackson, while Aston is still getting a good getaway. Jono is at the back after, I believe he just had a little scrape, while Matt and Jackson have bumped their way all the way past Aston Lewis. Huds is trying to go around the outside of Aston, but it's Jackson Turner and Matt Pulio who will lead away for lap 1. You can tell that those two are going to be teammates. However, Matt has just gone... Where has he just gone? He was side by side with Jackson. But Aston Lewis, what a run he's got. Turn 1. Are they all going to come out clean? It looks so. Aston Lewis keeping that low line. Is anyone going to help him? Ghost and Jackson wants to get that bump as Matt forms along. Aston looks for the high line on Jackson Turner, while Adam looks for the inside low line. It's all scrappy out here. Jono gives Aston a slight bump mid-corner, maybe helping him, but oh, that is a car round. That is Ghost Fired Up in the Aqua Regina car. Matt Pulio is at the back. We're 4 wide going into turn 1. Aston Lewis looks to take the lead. Jono is high, just avoids a scrape on the wall from Matt Pulio. So now Aston Lewis is getting in the slipstream or in the draft of Jackson Turner. At this point, I would want everyone to be bumping each other, but it's not looking like that. It's looking like there's only 2 or 3 well, there's only two sets of cars that I think would be helping each other. Now, some of you viewers may be wondering, why isn't there a caution for Ghost Fired Up? Well, I believe the rule in NASCAR is, I'm just going to hold on for that. Aston Lewis has just been forced to get that bump by, I believe it was Jackson Turner. As there are 4 in the line, Matt pulls out, goes high. Might not be the smartest thing to do, but that's Huds who also gets forced out of the line. Anyway, the reason as to why there is no caution for Adam is because in the new NASCAR rules, I believe, there must be 3 cars go round, 3 or 2 cars go round before a caution is to be said. As Jono and Matt are side by side going into turn 1. Jono takes the high line, Matt with the low. They're all very tight to the wall, but they're all out clean. All drivers will want to be getting the draft from Aston Lewis, as Jono already wants to pull out and go for the high line. It's a brave choice this early into the corner, because he might just get jumped off into the final turn. Aston Lewis has decided to go down on the low line, which has worked perfectly, and Matt has just followed him through. Lovely work by the 2 cars. Jono looks to be wanting to waste no time at all though. He wants to get out front and he wants to lead this race. As we look further back, as Jackson Turner makes a nice move there on Huds, and he's after Jono, but he bumps him. Good teamwork between these two. They aren't teammates, as Matt, the American, the one who knows everything about NASCAR, he decides to help Aston. It's early on in the race, you would expect to. However, Jono is pushing him high as Jackson pushes Jono high, and I believe Aston has just scraped the wall. He's just whacked himself into the wall as Matt and Jackson are bumping each other. As Matt pulls into the lane of Aston Lewis, but Jackson slots himself in. There's Jono, who's drifting through turn 1. Very interesting way of doing things. Aston Lewis was, I believe, who knocked him. But Matt and Jackson, these two know how to work with each other. They've been friends for years. They know everything to do with each other. They're just bumping away. I believe they'll start racing until the final few laps. They just want to get away from everyone. Get away from Aston and Huds, who... Huds has surprised me. He knows a lot more about NASCAR than what I would expect. He knows that the bumping is the way to go. And maybe even he's found a new line going, staying high quite late and then dropping down low. One moment. Aston Lewis is round. I'm going to need to go and talk for 1 moment. I will be back. So I'm just going to leave you with Huds and Jackson. Apologies to everybody watching the stream, I had a slight interference. Now, I've just been told that the caution count is 3. So once 3 cars have gone around or they've lost themselves in a collision, then there will be a caution once there is 3 cars that have gone around. Repeat, 3. As it is, I believe, Matt Pulio that will take the inside line. Oh no. This is a new rule for NASCAR. I'm only just catching on. There'll be single lane restarts to stop any major collisions that happened like last season. As Matt pulls away, Jackson looking to get that draft, looking to get ahead into turn 1. Maybe he'll help him. These two just know how to work with each other. It is brilliant. For Jono, I heard a lot of tyre screeching, but I believe it was just Aston and Jono just helping each other through their corner. We're all tight here as there's a slight gap between Jackson and Matt. That will close very suddenly. It's already closed in the space of a corner. As Huds is looking to go down the inside of Jackson Turner and defend his place from Aston Lewis and Jono Mills. Jackson Turner maintains P2. Matt Pulio with a good restart maintains P1 as he looks for the block on Jono Mills, but they're 3 wide going into turn 1, 2 wide. Aston takes low, Jackson takes high, Aston comes out on top. Jono stays low and keeps his place in P3 so that Jackson just slides in there to give him a little bump. And Aston, it's actually going for the high line, avoiding any help from Matt Pulio, which halfway through this race you would start to expect drivers to avoid each other and become more alone and go for the win themselves. It's happened in the past, but that's a very big wiggle from Jackson Turner. Jackson drifting down turn 1. He's not had such a good start to lap 12. Matt Pulio on the offense of Aston Lewis. Is he going to look for the move early on? He'll just maintain behind, and he'll pull out once he finds his little gap. As he goes round the outside, is there enough space? He just has to stick behind Aston Lewis just for now. Jono is finding the slipstream. Matt is pushing Aston high. He wants him to stay high. Aston Lewis does stay high with Matt following him along, but Matt and Jono are having a nice little tussle. Matt is looking to go around the outside into turn 3. Matt can't decide which lane he's going to go in, 1 or 2, but he manages to keep in P1. This is great racing between all of these drivers. We're all clean. Oh, as Aston Lewis nearly loses it. Matt is just launched himself into the door of Jackson Turner. But all drivers are still okay. All drivers are still in this race, as there is a gap of 1 second, just over 1 second, between the first car and the 6th car being Huds. Now, Matt Pulio just keeping his cool, just keeping himself up to date with where Jackson is. He knows that Jackson will help him until the point late in the race. This race will decide where the drivers will start for the initial first race of the season here at Blue Moon, as Jono takes a slight drift through turn 1. Matt Pulio, Jackson Turner goes fired up. They're starting to build up a gap to the cars behind. It is growing, but the cars behind it, they need to work together. They need to connect, as Huds needs to catch along. But these 3 drivers, they know each other well. They all look good in their different schemes. Matt Pulio obviously showing his support and love for Kevin Harvick, the real-life NASCAR driver, in his in his new scheme for this duel. Jono looking just below the yellow line, just looking for a space on Aston. As Aston and Jono, they've pushed themselves into a prime position, while Matt is that Matt or Ghost that was pushed further high due to that little incident. Jono has been pushed into the wall by, I believe, Jackson, and he's just keeping him out, wanting to stay as high up in the lead as they can. But the two former teammates, Ghost Fired Up and Aston Lewis, these two, they worked well last season. Some may say Aston carried Ghost, but they both worked together to get high in the positions. Aston, I think he's got his hazards on, maybe just keeping a warning of his driving standards. But Ghost Fired Up looking at the high line, not getting quite the exit he wanted, but staying in the draft of Aston Lewis. Aston Lewis moves further to the left to help out Jono. These two are in the same party, I believe, but all drivers brake nice and correct into turn one, as Jono has been forced high by Aston Lewis into, was that Matt or Huds? Doesn't really matter, because both drivers are at the back, as Jono has gotten the best out of all of it. That may be looked at by the stewards though, if reported. Ghost Fired Up is looking for a gap high, Aston Lewis looking for a gap low. All the drivers are going to start going for it now. This is where things will get fun, as we are on the penultimate lap of the race, lap 19. Jono currently leading, taken down by Ghost Fired Up. They're 3 wide, heading up to turn 3. Ghost Fired Up getting all the help he has by Jackson Turner and Aston Lewis. Jono has dropped to the back. It's not all right position to be, as the final lap will cause a lot of chaos, as seen in the past by this league. Now Ghost Fired Up will take the white flag to start the final lap of the race. All drivers are in this. Aston Lewis looking for the early move to go down into turn 1. All the drivers preferring the lower line, as Jackson Turner has been forced very high and into a wall, I believe, by Aston. It's not the best way to go around making friends this early on in the season, but Jackson is definitely out of this one. He's going to be starting low for next week's race, but they're 3 wide going into the final turn. They're all in this. Matt is... It's side by side between Aston and Matt. Ghost Fired Up has been knocked around, but Matt Pulio, like last season, is done very well in the duels. Aston Lewis second, Huds third. That's a big surprise for everyone, with Jono 4th, Jackson 5th, and Adam just losing out in 6th. Now, I'm going to claim myself a Jackson Turner, as he will be joining us for the next duel to help out with the drivers and who they race for me. So, thank you, Jackson. Of that race, personally, for me, it was the nice little teamwork between Jackson Turner and Matt Pulio. And we are back with the warm-up to the second duel. Currently readied up is Dutchman Rick de Bray and Kieran Cavern of Nexus JMR. We're just waiting for Adam and Huds to leave, and we're waiting for the other drivers to join in. As Niall Karen has joined the room. He'll be an interesting shout for this one. The Duck Man, as some may like to call him. He has a good past in this series, as in season 1 he was strong all the way through. He just missed out on the final 4, but he helped me to my first title against Tyler Davison, and he has recently come back, joining roughly halfway through last season, and at Northern Isle Speedway he had a very solid top 3 finish, which was a great return for him. But since then he's just been one of those little underdogs. Sometimes you may think he's going to do a great job, however in some races he may not do so well. But he's a good one to look out for. He's my favourite for this race. And here is the man who finished, I believe, in 5th in the duel, and he is a NASCAR champion. Welcome, Jackson Turner, my co-commentator for the second duel of the night.
Hello, it's nice to be back in the commentary box after a brief one-race break.
Very brief one-race break.
Yes, that was good fun. I very much missed NASCAR GT, I've remembered. I mean, that was a very NASCAR GT style of race. We had incidents, we had drama, we had a lot of very on-the-edge racing, and probably some controversy as well, so it's good to be back. And whilst my race didn't quite go to plan, the final lap had a slight incident of my own, but apart from that, every other lap was quite fun.
Well, talk me through that final lap, because up here in the commentary box I couldn't really tell what was going on.
I don't want to say anything for certain, but what felt like happened at someone, I don't know if he had someone on his inside, I was on the outside of Aston, and it felt like from my perspective that he just came up the racetrack, so they took a bit too much speed and put me in the wall, which knocked me way down to last, and then I was just picking up from whoever else cracked on the final lap.
Which luckily you got Adam.
Yeah, then I think, and Matt sort of said himself, I was speaking to him, he was saying that he's probably going to get a penalty. He thinks that maybe he caused that last corner incident. So yeah.
It did look very tight at the end, as it was a massive scrape between Matt, Adam, Aston and Huds, or was it Jono? Well, they were 3 wide going into the final corner from what I could see, and it just didn't go well for Adam, as he was right next to the wall.
Yeah, just waiting for a few more people to join, then we'll be ready for the second battle.
Is it 6, or how many of us are there for the next one?
I will have a little look. The notification as well. It'll be 6 or 7. It will be 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll be 7 for this one, assuming everyone is here. So far, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, all those guys are people that didn't race in the first battle. So yeah, we've got 6 so far. The one missing would be that'd be Carlo, I believe. So we'll start on time on the basis that Carlo hasn't had the best attendance in NASCAR GT. I mean, he openly admit that he can't do most races, but he did say he'd be able to do this one. but he doesn't seem he's in here yet, so he's not in for the start. We'll start at the scheduled start time of 30 minutes past 7. So in the meantime, I'll get the grid ready for today's event.
Lovely stuff.
Did you enjoy watching that first battle?
Personally, it was a very NASCAR race. There was collisions, there was drama, there was teamwork. I could tell that you and Matt were working together. I did mention it on stream, but it was fun to watch, and yeah, I wasn't too sure on some moments though. That was my main concern.
That's fair. With me and Matt, it was basically just, we obviously as we're in a party together, so we're not teammates anymore, which is a bit strange to get used to. But it is basically as simple as, listen, when we can work together, let's work together, because equally we could probably see maybe Ghost working with someone, perhaps with Aston, or Aston's working with Jono. It was sort of like, it's good to have someone there that you're going to be with, so that you've got that bit of insurance. But we sort of went with the process of, hey listen, if we're 1 and 2, let's just try and keep it that way, and just try and help each other. But if one of us is a lost cause, let's not ruin both our races to try and save one of them. And yeah, also in the mid-pack, it's only a like 6-car race, but in the mid-pack, it's very sort of all over the place. So it's as simple as, listen, let's if we can work together in the mid-pack, that's great. But equally, we're just gonna have to take the opportunities we can, because it's going to be a bit crazy, and that seemed to be pretty true. On pole for this race, Ben Driscoll in his Morrison's Chevrolet, number 36 driver. For Dalton Motorsport, I believe. I think he stayed with his team from last season.
Yeah, he did.
Quickly put the teams here. Yeah, well, look, as we are now at the scheduled start time, so briefly before the start, we'll go through Dylan Kubinski. He'll be starting second. Oh, Dominic Kubinski, sorry. He is starting second. He is a driver for FR Bono Racing, sort of the evolved form of FR Racing last season. FR Racing didn't have the best of times last season. I think they ended up last in the Teams Championship. But they've got a brand new lineup, a brand new look, and I personally, I've got quite high hopes for them. I think they can do quite a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them perhaps win a couple of races this season. And if not, I certainly think they'll be in contention, top 10s week in, week out, and I think definitely better than last season. Kieran Kevin, of course, returning for the JMR Nexus combination team, himself and Jonathan Mills. He's of course running with 54, those two staying together. Neither of them made the playoffs. Last season, Kieran had some PlayStation issues. Jono got very close. He ended up best of the rest, first driver outside the playoffs. So those two definitely could be contenders for the chase this season. Scott Sandover, his new team, Aqua Regia Racing. I don't know if I quite got that right.
I said Aqua Regina.
So yeah, it's a slightly a new look for the team, gold and blue. I quite like it personally. Be interesting to see how he can do. And I mean, after what happened to Richardson in the first battle, it's not a high benchmark he's got to beat. But of course, that's nothing of Richardson's doing. He was just taken out by another person's accident. 5th place, but the return of the Duck, Niall Karen, in that Braun-styled livery, the number 7. A 2-time winner in Nascar GT, won 2 races in the first season, and he is back now, full-time, ready to try and make a run at the chase. And I believe he is racing for Bing Chilling Racing. Bing Chilling Racing, the only team to have 2 cars in a battle, purely because of how things worked out in the end. I tried to separate everyone, but it sort of wasn't possible in the end, so there's going to have to be some doll-up. And in this case, it was Ricky and Niall, both in the same duel. So perhaps there's an advantage there, but they're starting 5th and 6th, so I've got work to do still, but a long way to go. So if you are ready, I will start the event. I
am ready. Rick Debris running the typical pink of Bing Schilling, and he has had some strong results in the past. It isn't his first time racing here. He knows how to work the bump draft, and he knows how to defend properly. So we should be on for a good race. So Ben Driscoll, Dominic Kubinski, Kieran Cavern, Scott Sandover, Niall Karen, Rick Debray is how we will line up. 4, 5 red lights and we're away. On the new grid start form, Ben Driscoll gets a poor getaway as Kubinski gets a lovely getaway. Kieran Cavern already in the draft of Kubinski. As Kubinski goes high into turn 1. Ben forcing him high though. Higher. And typically all drivers like to go down low, which as we have seen here.
Really want to cover off your inside going to turn 2. That's just the shortest way around the corner, it's as simple as that, so that's why the drivers dive low. But then as you get through there, you get a lot of momentum going through turn 2, and that's where you see them dive up to the high side. Then there's always got contact between Rick Debray and Ben Driscoll out in the Morrison's car, and the pink Bing Chilling Chevrolet into the barriers. Scott Sandover's dropped to the back, but up at the front, going to change the lead coming perhaps, as Kieran Cavern is out front here. He won he won his battle last season, and provisionally at least, Matt Pulio, he won his battle last season, he won his battle this season. Could Kieran Cavern make it a repeat sweep for those two again this season, at least provisionally, as he's out front so far, with Kubinski just going to clear himself there over Ben Driscoll, and they're all lined up again on this inside line, getting ready to race as they head towards turn 2, and they're all going to fan out all of a sudden as they try and find all lines into the final corner. Oh, we've got contact around Ben Driscoll, and Scott Sandover just about managed to avoid it. Ben Driscoll around, and that is not ideal for him. He's going to have to rely on a caution coming out, but for a caution to come out, he would need another 2 drivers to spin, so that's not what he needs to start off with.
There could be another one.
No, we are all clear. Again.
That is a difficult lap 2 for Ben Driscoll. Started on pole, but it's not worked out his way. As we see Dominic Kubinski running very high compared to the rest of the grid, which is strange to see, as most drivers like to stay low and all in one sort of drafting line.
I do wonder, perhaps, with some newer drivers in the series, and with some new teams and the such, we could perhaps see some. Oh, as we see into the wall goes Kieran Cavern, he's been putting the wall. Sandover barely saves it there. Yeah, as I was saying before, they all decided to have a bit of a moment. With new teams, new drives, perhaps we could see some new strategies taken to the Blue Moon races, because it's a very strategic race. You've got to make sure you get yourself in the right lane. Of course, got to carry speed there as we see more contact between Cavern and Bray. It is, of course, got to carry as much speed through the turns, but equally, when you're in a big pack of 10 cars, you need a bit more than just speed. You need to use the slipstream to the best of your abilities. And perhaps with new teams here, we're going to see some new styles, because a lot of the drivers have been here for a while, and perhaps have got into some old habits, and maybe some new drivers and teams can bring new life into what works and what doesn't work. There as Kubinski gets pushed into the wall there by Sandover. Debray's going to make it 3 wide as they battle over the third position. The top 2 are loving this. They're
not very smart to go 3 wide, especially sometimes into this turn 1, as we have seen in the past over many seasons, as Niall Kerrin is in the wall and he is around. That is not yet the caution limit, I believe. However, Debray was a part of it.
I mean, he is actually going to drop back, so we are going to throw the caution here.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to call for you.
Usually we go 3 seconds, but I mean, in a lapse time it'll be 3 seconds, is the way I see it there. When you lose the slipstream, especially now we've got the strong slipstream back at Blue Moon. We've started to trust the drivers again.
So yeah,
we've gone with that, bringing out a caution. So yeah, Aston Lewis, you know, the final stamp of approval on that, which is good to see. And of course we've got single file restarts this season. Perhaps a little less exciting, but hopefully the idea is that it'll keep things a bit cleaner and less troublesome on the restarts, and try and get us back for more than just a few corners before we have another caution.
Well, I would like to throw a counter argument to you, Jackson. Predominantly, it's mainly the drivers further back that are the issue with the restarts, as we've just seen Ben Driscoll just punt Niall Kerrin for no reason. That pretty much proves my point that drivers further back, they tend to get less focused, and they just want to get further forward more quickly, so they become more reckless. It's more the drivers at the front that lose out because of the poor standards further back.
The way I see it is, with the field single file, it would, if anything, mean that the guys in the back are further back, At least then, if they do have an incident, they're less likely to involve someone who's up contending in the top 5, top 10.
We will go on board with Debray running his unusual JMR overalls for this race where he's racing for Bing Qiling. As we are underway, we are all green. Cavern moves low, probably going to move back high, but Debray moves further away and he's just going straight for it. He's just going straight for the lead, but he's not going to get it just yet, as he is forced high by Kubinski, and that's just allowed Cavern to just build a large gap. It's not going to last for long as Scott Sandover pushes Debray forward, but Debray forcing Kubinski low, not always the best route to go. That can cause collisions as seen in the past, but strange. You go ahead.
I think what we saw there was why the drivers do like to go to the inside. We had 2 cars versus 1 there. 2 cars on the outside, 1 car on the inside. Oh, is there going to be contact?
Oh, there is Debray. Debray is into the wall.
Yeah, before the drivers like to interrupt me now as Kubinski nearly gets turned into turn 1. Yeah, as I was saying, is I think it's what we saw why drivers prefer the inside line here, because it was 2 cars on the outside bump drive versus 1 car on the inside, and the outside didn't pull ahead. So yeah, there is some sort of, as we see a bit of drama there for Kevin, the leader, got a bit loose there through turn 2. But there's some sort of force that pulls cars along a bit quicker on the inside, and naturally is the quicker route, and it's the shortest route around the circuit. So if you're going for out-and-out lap time, forget other cars on the racetrack. If you're just on your own, that would be the way to do it. Would be to come sort of let the car roll down the banking without much steering input. Try and keep the wheel straight, and the car will naturally come off the banking as the track flattens out a bit. As always, see Kevin making a bold move down the inside of Driscoll. That will allow Karen through as well. We've got side-by-side racing for the lead. Sandover out front here.
Sandover got a great run on Kubinski out of turn 2. We're doing it NASCAR style. We are using the corner exits as a turn. Out of turn 4, we see a bit of tyre smoke as Sandover just forcing himself through, as Niall Kerrin forces himself through. Ben Driscoll all the way straight through the middle, parting the seas, but Scott Sandover has lost out and he is around. I'll give Debray someone to watch.
I think Debray's going to back off here to try and make sure he gets with Sandover. So yeah, one more and we will bring out a yellow here. As Kubinski now trying to hold on to this lead, but they're 3 wide.
Cavern has a lovely run. Absolutely incredible stuff.
But
could he get the side draft?
Oh, he's not clear.
He's trying. He's not clear. He is not clear.
As we see Kubinski now looking to the outside of Karen, not quite going to go for it. Now Driscoll getting squeezed all the way to the inside. He's in the first lane there as he goes into turn 3. He's going to keep his line. Will he just about hold on? It looks like he will there. Kubinski on the outside. They all manage to keep it clean this time around. Karen leads the way though. Ben Driscoll in second. Kubinski in third. Kubinski's going to pull out of the slipstream, look for something here. But it's so hard to do when you're on your own in this situation. We're only just halfway through the race, so we've got a long, long way to go. As we could well see more drama in this race.
Slight contact between Cavern, Kubinski and Kerrin all through turn 1, as this is some great NASCAR GT racing.
We love to see it there as Kerrin's going to go for the lead, but what will Kevin do? He's going to stay on the low side and help Ben Driscoll out front, and Kerrin just about gets across the front of him there. With the bump drafting on this game, especially with a strong slipstream, if you bump the car ahead and you've got quite a big difference in speed, which often you will do with the slipstream, you lose quite a lot of speed from second. You lose a bit more speed as there's contact there on the straightaway. Yeah, you need to sort of time the bumps a bit better and perhaps even lift before you do it to try and help not lose too much time so that you and the car ahead can stay connected. As
Kerrin is round. Oh, he's sort of saved it.
Not enough. The caution's going to come out here.
And it will be a very fun race to the line for the final 7 or 8 laps left in this race.
Indeed.
All drivers backing down to 75 to 85 miles per hour. As we are all lined up and we are ready to go green this time, hopefully for the final time today. Who do you reckon's going to win it, Jackson? I've seen no teamwork from anyone.
No. Well, I think I've got a good feeling about Kevin. I've got a feeling he's going to do it. He just seems to be being able to keep himself up front, but I mean, it really could be anyone.
Driscoll is away, and he has moved slightly before the line. That may be looked at.
I think it was Kevin last time. It was a long way before the line, so given that if one doesn't report the other, I think they might return the favour. I don't know.
We will see later this evening or tomorrow morning. However, it is Ben Driscoll who has maintained his lead out of turn 1, getting a solid exit, but just being drawn back in by Cavern. He's so strong with this slipstream. It's just incredible how he does it. Going back to last season, where it was me that was getting helped by Cavern, we could reasonably stay on the same pace. Just on corner exits, Cavern sometimes seems to struggle, and he just gets helped by getting clawed back by the draft, as Debray has lost out hugely from turn number 2 on exit.
Had a contact down there, I think, with another car. Yeah, as you were saying, Cavern, he's really good at sort of positioning. He's one of the drivers that's quite good at the strategy. He doesn't always have the raw pace, but his ability to put himself in the right place at the right time usually works pretty good here. As Scott Sanders making a bold move to the low side, that might just work out not quite there, as he's got Kabinski right behind him, trying to push him along.
That is brave from Ben Driscoll, not going for any slipstream line.
Looks like Kevern's going to hold the lead this time around. You can see them sliding
Driscoll
through that first turn.
Slightly forced Cavern, no, not Cavern, Karen into Sandover. As Cavern leads the pack with 3/4 of the way through this race. And we're all looking good until the checkered.
Indeed, Kevin just blocking the lanes there. He's keeping himself in the right position at the right time as they're free wide for second place. That'll help him. Will Driscoll be clear? Yes, by the smallest of margins. Brilliant stuff there, Driscoll. He got himself into second place. Just barely cleared Karen on the outside. If he hadn't cleared him, that was probably going to be quite a big crash. So lucky that he did for, well, everyone really involved. As we now see, that's a big move from Karen down to the low side. Driscoll going for the lead at the same time. That's less successful on move there as there's much more contact. Around goes Sandover. He's come
Sandover has just saved it purely by Kabinski pushing him through.
I think we're going to stay green despite that.
We do have to stay green.
Second each, but it's not quite close enough for it to bring out the caution here. We'll say there's 2 cars around so far, given that was a fairly substantial incident. But yeah, neither of them lost enough really to be able to claim a car around. As we see now, Kevin behind Driscoll. What will Karen do?
We may be looking at the 3 drivers looking for starting up front for next week's Blue Moon race, the season opener. Will it be Driscoll, Cavern or Karen? Who's your money on? Is it still Cavern?
Still, I've got a feeling about Cavern, but you know, it's just it's only 3 laps left after this one, but it's a long way to go. Anything can happen here. Karen, he's sitting quietly in that 3rd position, and I wouldn't be surprised if these 2 race too hard. He could capitalise on it. He's quite good at avoiding the drama usually, so I would not be surprised if we see that from him again here today. But yeah, Kevin and Ben Driscoll, they seem to have the pace at the moment. It just to come down to the racecraft. I've got a feeling this could end in tears. So I think at that point it's going to be perhaps who saves it first, or can they stay ahead of Karen behind them.
What I have noticed for most of the drivers exiting turn number 2 is they're all in 5th gear, all going from 4th into 5th. Now, I've found it so much easier for the drivers to stay in 5th for the whole turn 1 and turn 2, as they just get less engine loss from going up the gears. It's just easy to stay in 5th and just slowly move your way up. It's so much quicker.
I think it depends what your position is. From that first battle, I did find the 5th was quicker for pace. As we see there,
as Driscoll is
sent up the road.
just wall-ridden Ross
He got hit into the
Chastain.
corner by Kevin, I think, there. But I think the difference is fourth gear is sort of like a panic gear for me. It was like if I've gone in a bit too hot or if I'm right up behind another car, it's a gear you can pull and it kicks the rear end out and you get a little bit more sort of retardation and it slows the car down a bit quicker. But as you said, it does impede your exit a little bit and it does slide the car a bit more. When I was sort of in a fairly calm and quiet position, whether I was the leader or if I was just behind the leader and there wasn't...
So Jackson, I'm just going to have to pause you there, but as we start the final lap, Niall Kerrin has taken the white flag. It is these three drivers going for this dual win. It's all to play for.
And just like that, Kevin's out of it. Kevin with a big moment down in turn one. It is now Niall Kerrin's race to lose. The question is, how powerful is the slipstream? Will Driscoll catch back up to Kerrin, or is Kerrin, well, quite locked in at the moment? It looks like it's the...
Kerrin is looking very locked in. He has to make a huge error for Driscoll to get back into him. But Driscoll just looks like he's riding the wall, but he's just not good enough. Niall Kerrin, has taken the win at the second duel here at Blue Moon. It's a solid race. Well done to Niall Kerrin. It is Ben Driscoll second, Kieran Cavern in P number 3, and I'm unsure of 4, 5, 6. As we'll just look at the results. It was Niall Kerrin with a solid race, dominating on that final lap. Ben Driscoll P2, Kabinski took it in P3. Scott Sandover P4 with the fastest lap, probably due to the help at the rear. Kieran Cavern lost out on the last lap, finishing in 5th, and just losing out on the top 5 was Rick Debray in his pink Bing killing car. Well, how did you find that, Jackson?
Very exciting, until the final lap, of course, but I think that was another good battle there at Blue Moon, and I think it set up quite nicely for the Blue Moon 200, the crown jewel event of the NASCAR GT season. I'm very intrigued to see how it all goes, because we saw two very different battles. We saw the first one, which was very tightly contested. Top 5 was basically locked together the whole way through. This one a bit more spread out at times. Top 3 broke away now and again when others had incidents. So you sort of put that together, and suddenly we could have 16 cars racing next week. Anything can happen. Probably gonna have more cautions, and it may well become a race of attrition in a way. It's very hard to predict, but I do very much look forward to it, and I think we could be in for quite a thrill of a race.
It will be one to watch. Now, make sure you guys are back here next week on Monday, 7 PM, I believe. Is it 7 PM we start?
Indeed.
Yep,
Yes.
not changed from last season. Come back here, 7 PM, NASCAR GT at Blue Moon Speedway. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.